The Dangerous Love Ritual, Part 3. Once inside, Harley locked the door to Andy's room and handed the bag of items to Madame Gavilia. Good job, Harley. Now, in order for this to work, I need you to do everything I say. Harley nodded and did as she was told. First, she lit all the candles, she lit the incense, and when told to, she drew a pentagram in the middle of the floor with the dark red lipstick. Okay, next step. May come off as a little strange to you, but do it anyways. Take the second tube of lipstick and draw a heart on Andy's head. Harley gave Madame Gavilia a strange look, but did what she was told anyway. Okay, what next? Madame Gavilia looked at her with a straight face. You're not going to like this part much, Harley, but you have to do it. Take the sewing needle, prick 5 of your fingers, and squeeze the blood into the bowl. What? What do we need that for? Asked Harley in a shocked voice. Don't ask questions. I promise I'll bandage your fingers once we're done. Just do it, snapped Madame Gavilia. Harley took a deep breath and one by one pricked her fingers with the needle and held back whimpers of pain as her bleeding finger filled the bowl till a small puddle formed. Now what? Asked Harley as she held the bowl with the other hand. Now I need you to fill in the heart with Andy's forehead with the blood. It's just like finger painting. With a disgusted face, Harley dipped her fingers in the blood and smeared it on the inside of the heart lipstick. Lipstick-shaped heart, yeah. Until it was full. Now, my dear, it is time for the chant, said Madame Gavilia as she held the book in one hand and held out her other for Harley. After Harley grasped it, she pushed Andy's hospital bed into the center of the pentagram. Read this, and I'll read it the way it's written in the book, she said as she handed a paper to Harley. This one was translated in English rather than the spell in the book that was written in a foreign language. Once Madame Gavilia started reading, Harley read the chant aloud. Sacred red water flow from me to draw him ever near. An endless rivers run to the sea. His path to me is clear. A love that's true once here he'll find. I know his journey's end, and in his heart and soul and mind, he'll know our lives should blend. Once the chant was said, Harley went to Andy's bed and held his hand. Did it work? She asked. Rituals don't always show results right away, Harley, but I'm sure that if you come back tomorrow, he'll be just fine. Harley sighed, but had faith in Gravilia's words, and hoped they were true. Okay, would you like me to help you clean up? She asked. I'm sure if a doctor or a nurse walked in here and saw that a ritual had just been performed, they wouldn't be very calm about it. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll take care of everything. Just go home and come back tomorrow. Harley nodded and took one last look at Andy before she went home for the night. The next morning, even though it was a school day, Harley decided to skip school and go straight to the hospital. When she got there, she stood outside Andy's room. She didn't know what to expect. She slowly walked into the room and was amazed to see Andy with his eyes wide open. Wires no longer tied up to his body or the machines. Hi, Harles, he said with a smile. Harley was so happy that she let out tears of joy and ran to Andy's side. Andy, you're alive! How are you feeling? She asked, looking up at him with tear-filled eyes. A little sore, but the doctor said I was very lucky to be alive. Harley nodded. They said there was a slight chance that you could have died, but I just had to make sure that you were going to make it, she said as she gripped his hand tightly and put it to her cheek. Harley, do you really care about me that much? Asked Andy. Yes, you're my best friend, and I can't imagine life without you, said Harley as she started to blush. For the next few minutes, it was silent between the two friends, until Andy ran a hand through Harley's hair, making her look at him. I don't know why I've never realized it before, but Harley, you did grow up to be beautiful, and I know we were just friends at the time, but I have strong feelings. I love you. Harley gasped. She couldn't believe that the 3 words that she had always wanted to hear from him had finally been spoken. Harley was so happy that she helped Andy sit up and wrapped her arms around him. I love you too, Andy. I have ever since we were kids. After she said that, she looked into Andy's eyes, and their lips slowly started to meet. But the kiss was interrupted by a sassy nurse who walked into the room and said, excuse me, but it's time for you to go. Visiting hours are over. Now tell your boyfriend bye and go. Harley just shrugged and kissed Andy's cheek before leaving. To show her gratitude, Harley decided to thank Madame Gavilia by going to visit her at the shop. When Harley walked in, she noticed Madame Gavilia was inside lighting candles. She turned around and faced the young girl with a smile. In her state of happiness, Harley ran up to her and hugged Gavilia tight. Thank you so much. He's a lot better now, thanks to you. I was very happy to help, Harley, but I need to warn you about something, she said in a serious voice. Warn me about what? Asked Harley. No matter what happens, you cannot tell Andy about the ritual or give him any information about how you saved him. If you do, the powers of the ritual will wear off and death will take him. Do you understand? Harley looked up at her with fear in her eyes, but nodded as a way of saying that she understood. The next few weeks were great. Andy was released from the hospital in very good health, and he even started taking Harley out on dates. Even when they went to school together, everyone was so surprised to hear that they were finally a couple. This was Harley's dream come true. It was great to have Andy as a boyfriend. But during this time, Harley noticed that Andy was starting to change. Every day, she would wake up, and he would be there outside her house with a big smile on his face. And at night, even after she said that she was going to bed, he wouldn't leave. He would just stand outside all night. Harley even noticed that he started to change his appearance. Instead of wearing his usual black band clothing, he started dressing in brighter colors, and he even took out all his piercings and started dressing more like a prep than a goth. Ew. At first, Harley wanted to be happy and accept all these changes, but she wanted to be with the old Andy, the one who used to be her best friend and who had so much in common with her. Not the Andy who was now stalkerish and a complete preppy boy. One day, when Harley managed to find a way to get away from Andy at school, she sneaked off campus and figured that since Gavilia had helped her out of this thus far, she could tell her what the hell was going on and what caused this change. Madame Gavilia, are you here? Hello? Harley called out when she noticed that she seemed to be the only one in the shop. She was just about to leave, figuring that no one was there, but movement in the back and sound of another foreign chant caught Harley's attention. Careful not to make any noise or sudden movements, Harley slowly made her way to the back room and was shocked at what she saw. There, in the middle of the room, was Gavilia sitting at a small table with a doll in her hands. But this wasn't just any doll. This doll had black hair, a band t-shirt, and what seemed to be a chain wrapped around him. Andy's chain. This was a doll of Andy, and Madame Gavilia was cursing him and controlling him. This is what caused Andy's change. What are you doing? Asked Harley, making Madame Gavilia jump and put the doll down. Oh, Harley, dear, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you come in, she said in a nervous voice. How could you do this to Andy? After you helped me save him from dying, why are you changing him? Tell me, demanded Harley. Once Harley said that, Gavilia's smile turned into a hateful glare. Death does not like to be cheated, Harley. My master was not pleased to know that you stopped Andy's pitiful soul from reaching the flames of hell. Harley gasped. You're a damn Satan worshiper! Leave Andy alone! Gavilia let out a horrible laughter. What are you going to do about it? I already told you what would happen to him if you told him anything, and you do realize that he's not in love with you. Harley's eyes widened in shock. What the hell are you talking about? Even without the damn ritual, Harley, Andy never would have felt the same way that you feel about him. But you were just so desperate for his love that you were willing to do anything I said. He may love you now, but that's because of the damn ritual. Tears started to fall down Harley's face. I know he loves me. He does. Sure, keep telling yourself that, sweetie. I can't believe I trusted you. You crazy Disney freak, said Harley in a pissed-off voice. But she soon regretted it when Gravelia picked her up by her throat and pinned her against the wall. Harley shivered in fear. Gravelia's nails started digging into her skin, causing blood to flow down her neck. For your rude behavior and disrespect for my ruler, for that, I should take your pathetic teenage life away from you. Harley tried to scream but couldn't. Gravelia's grip was not allowing any air in or out of her throat. Slowly, Harley even started to close. Her eyes started to close. She was sure that her life would slip away from her any minute. That is, until fresh air finally found her and she was pulled into the arms of someone more caring. She looked up to see that it was Andy. He was holding her close and glaring and yelling at Madame Gravelia, but she was so out of it from lack of breath that she couldn't tell what he was saying. Soon after a few deep breaths, Harley began to speak up. Andy, how did you know I was here? She asked. I heard that you had left school, so I followed you. Gravelia smirked. A stalker to the end, but it's impressive that you're saving a girl who you don't really love. Andy's grip on Harley tightened. What the hell are you talking about? Of course I love her. She's my girlfriend and my best friend. If I didn't love her, I wouldn't be here to save her from you. Once again, the evil laughter was heard. You know, Andy, it's pathetic to see the way you're acting. Do you know how you're still alive right now? Harley helped you cheat death. Hearing that made Andy speechless. He looked down at Harley, who had a guilty look on her face. Tell him, Harley. He deserves to know sooner or later. Death is going to have to take someone. Death isn't taking anyone! Harley, what is she talking about? Asked Andy, who was practically screaming at this point. Harley didn't know what to do. She knew that if she told him about anything, that death would come to claim him, just like in her dream. But despite everything, she still loved him and was willing to sacrifice herself just so he would have another chance at life. What she's saying is true, Andy. I did help you cheat death. You were going to die, and I just couldn't let that happen, so I performed a ritual at the hospital to keep you alive. Andy looked at her in amazement, but that look soon turned into the shock of his life because Harley was dying in his arms. Harley, no! He screamed as he held her lifeless body. He sat there on the floor crying, but a scream from Gravelia made him look up. No! Please, my master, don't take me! Andy watched as the floor beneath him split open and the fiery pits of hell dragged Gravelia down until there was nothing left for her. 2 weeks later, Andy stood there along with plenty of friends and relatives at the funeral of Harley. As he stood together with them, he was no longer depressed. He no longer dressed preppy and no longer the clingy stalker he once was. He was now the usual gothic self that he used to be, just like Harley would want him to. Once everyone left the funeral, Andy stayed behind and laid flowers on the grave that read, Here lies Harley Davidson, 1995 to 2014. Beloved daughter and friend. Meanwhile, while Andy was saying his goodbyes, Harley's angel was standing nearby along with Death. She watched Andy with sad eyes, knowing that she could never be with him. But to her surprise, Andy did something that she did not see coming. He pulled out a beautiful diamond ring and laid it on the grave along with the flowers. He was proposing to her even in death. He was keeping the promise he made to her as kids. Even now. Even though it was just under the spell. Sure, their love may have came with a price, but now Harley was sure that the love that they shared would never die.